Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to my review of last night's edition of Monday Night Raw. And sorry I didn't do the review last night. Wasn't feeling that great. But I'm doing it today. It's a Tuesday afternoon. But Raw was held last night from the Van Andel Arena in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Of course, this is the Fallout Raw after Money in the Bank. And I gotta say, last night's Raw, I thought it was an okay show. Not a great show by any means, but there was some good things that I liked. There was good action, cool segments. But the first hour was really decent, and then it just started going, downhill up until the main event. But Raw started off last night with Kurt Angle in the ring, saying he is proud that the stars of Raw won the Money in the Bank contracts. Alexa Bliss and Braun Strowman. And he introduces Alexa Bliss because there was a table set in the ring that had the Raw Women's title and the Money in the Bank briefcase. So Alexa Bliss ends up coming out. Kurt Angle said that Alexa demanded this presentation. Alexa ends up saying thank you to everyone for the opportunity to rub the win in everyone's faces. Like, I like that type of thing with Alexa Bliss, where she's like a baby face at first, and then she turns around and goes full-fledged heel there. And Alexa says at Money in the Bank she shocked the entire world when she cashed in her Money in the Bank contract, and that it's not going to be about Nia Jax and Ronda Rousey. It's going to be just about her. So Ronda Rousey ends up coming out. Alexa tells her to calm down because Ronda was mad at what happened at Money in the Bank, how Alexa screwed up the match between her and between Ronda and Nia. And Alexa says Ronda clearly doesn't know the difference between UFC and WWE, and what what Alexa did last at Money in the Bank was legal. And she says at Money in the Bank, everyone, did reports. After Money in the Bank, everyone did reports on her because she is the Raw Women's Champion. She ends up calling Ronda irrelevant, and that if Ronda wants to get, a shot at the Raw Women's Championship, she should go to the back of the line. And Ronda then ends up going after Alexa. Curt tries to separate Ronda from Alexa, but what was really cool was Ronda ended up flipping over Curt. So Ronda then takes the Money in the Bank briefcase, hits Alexa with it, and then she just goes after Curt, hitting the Money in the Bank briefcase to him. She just snapped. Ronda just snapped, and she also went after officials. Then what was really cool to end the segment, Ronda ended up putting Alexa through the table, and that pretty much ended the segment. But it was a really good opening segment. Really liked it. I like that aggressiveness of Ronda when she snapped. I think if we see this type of Ronda, she could be a really good heel. This proved it last night. That's just in my opinion, though. This is the Ronda Rousey I would like to see in her WWE career. But all in all, it was a good opening segment to open Raw last night. Really enjoyed it. And then we saw Ronda was backstage with Curt. Curt then announces to Ronda, or says to Ronda, that she is suspended for 30 days. And Curt ends up, telling her to leave the arena. So that pretty much was basically, that little thing that happened backstage between Ronda and Curt. Well, not, a lot of people aren't, happy with, this, with Ronda getting suspended for 30 days. And then when Ronda was leaving, Renee interviews her about, her 30-day suspension. And she ends up saying to Renee that after her 30 days suspension is over, she's coming after Alexa. So Ronda's going to be ready for Alexa when her 30-day suspension is over, which is going to be really cool. I like to see, I would like to see, Ronda versus Alexa. So sorry about that, but after the interview with Ronda, Seth Rollins ends up coming out and says, at Money in the Bank, Elias, took him to his limit and he enjoyed it. And he goes on to say he's still standing and he's still the Intercontinental Champion, which is what Seth said. And he says, he's here every Monday night. And then he announces he wants to have a open challenge for the Intercontinental Championship. And, he says to anybody in the back who wants to take on him, challenge him for the Intercontinental Championship in this open challenge. So out comes Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre. And, then it went to, then we had, Dolph Ziggler versus Seth Rollins. Dolph Ziggler was the one who chose, wanted to have this match with Rollins. And the match itself, it was decent. It was enjoyable. Seth Rollins continues to entertain. Seth Rollins continues to entertain every week. And Dolph Ziggler, he was decent in the match. Drew McIntyre was, at ringside, watching with Dolph. But Dolph Ziggler ended up getting the win. He wins the Intercontinental Championship with a roll up because he pulled on Rollins' pants or the tights, and Dolph Ziggler ends up getting the win. Dolph Ziggler is your new Intercontinental Champion. He is now a 6-time Intercontinental Champion, which is really cool. And after the match, Drew McIntyre ends up coming in, beats up on Seth, and then we just saw McIntyre and Dolph lay out Seth with the Claymore zigzag combo. So, so all in all, it was a decent match. It was an enjoyable match between Dolph and Seth. Disappointed that Seth lost, but Dolph Ziggler, I don't mind him win the Intercontinental Championship. So, but now hopefully Drew McIntyre, like I keep on saying, I hope Drew McIntyre is champion by the end of the year. If not, then WWE will miss out on putting a title on McIntyre. But I hope it happens, because Drew McIntyre, when you see him, he is championship material, in my opinion. So, and then after the match, we had Renee Young interviewing Dolph. Dolph says Monday Night Rollins is canceled, and says this is their show now. Dolph and Drew McIntyre's show. And McIntyre says, this is just the beginning of many titles to come. And, Dolph ends up saying, when they say something, they mean it. So that was the little interview with Dolph. Then the next match, it was a squash match. Bobby Roode versus Curt Hawkins. Garbage match. If Curt Hawkins, did he win? Nope. Bobby Roode ended up winning the match with the glorious DDT on Curt Hawkins. That explains, the match. So, moving on. After that, Braun Strowman ended up coming out. Says, he smashed tables and ladders. And, he flipped an ambulance with his bare hands. Won a trophy in Saudi Arabia. And even played a cello. And he says the Money in the Bank contract is the greatest. And he says all Lesnar has to do is show his face so he can cash in the contract and become Universal Champion. Because the Beast is going to get these hands. That's what Strowman, said. So Kevin Owens ends up coming out and says, he shouldn't be out here, because, his arm was all bandaged up because, Strowman ended up, tossing Owens off, the ladder at Money in the Bank. Owens ended up going through the table. So, he says, that he shouldn't be out here. And Owens, had to come out to talk to Strowman. He ends up congratulating Strowman and said, he deserves the briefcase. Strowman should, deserves the briefcase. Owens says that he knew Strowman was going to win, and that's why Owens wanted to sick everyone on Strowman. Owens says to Strowman that both of them need a friend, because Owens ends up saying, his friend Sami Zayn, was taken out by Bobby Lashley, and who knows when Sami Zayn is going to return. And so he wants him and Braun Strowman to help each other, and he wants Braun to have a match with him tonight. So Owens wants Braun to shake his hand, which Braun ends up doing, but Braun doesn't let go of Owens' hand. So Strowman tries to hit Owens with a running power slam, but Owens ended up escaping the ring, retaliating out of the ring. So, but it was a decent segment with Braun Strowman and Kevin Owens. Then we had Sasha Banks backstage. Bayley ends up coming over to her and says, Bayley says, she says she's sorry to Sasha about, Sasha not winning the Money in the Bank match, the Women's Money in the Bank match. So Sasha says, she wants to be the best, and Bayley wants to be also. Bayley says, she's ready to take the fight to the Riot Squad, with Sasha. And Bayley says, tonight it could be a new start for both her and Sasha. And pretty much that ended the backstage segment between Sasha and Bayley. And then we had Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt versus Heath, Slater, and Rhyno. This was nothing match, in my opinion. Before the match even started, we had the B team on the Titantron. Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas. They were parodying Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt, where Curtis Axel was dressed as Matt Hardy. Bo Dallas was dressed as, of course, his brother Bray Wyatt. So it was pretty funny. It was pretty funny with the both of them. Then the match got underway. Like I said, it was a nothing match, in my opinion. It was not that good of a match. Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt ended up getting the win with the kiss of deletion to Heath Slater to score the win. Which their match, Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt versus the B team, was scheduled to be on the Money in the Bank card, but eventually, it didn't happen. So maybe, they want to hold it off. Maybe at Extreme Rules, maybe they'll go at it. Or maybe just a random episode of Raw, who knows. Or, possibly they're building it up a little bit more between Hardy and Wyatt and the B team. So, but all in all, Matt and Bray versus Heath, Slater, and Rhyno was another match. It was not that good of a match. And then we had Kurt Angle backstage with Constable Corbin, Baron Corbin. Corbin says, Stephanie is pleased with what he did with Ron, for what, Kurt did with Ronda. And Kurt ends up saying, he's going to make an announcement later on tonight because Kurt was on the phone with Stephanie, went to commercial. Then when it came back, he was still on the phone with her. And then that's when he announced that, he's going to make an announcement later on tonight. So that was basically that. Then we had Jinder Mahal versus Chad Gable. Before the match even started, Jinder Mahal ended up coming out saying that last night at Money in the Bank, he felt the winds of change. And he says, he has won the battle of self-improvement and that Roman is bitter and angry, while, he's felt relinquished. So, and then he goes on to say, crap to Chad Gable. So the match got underway. This was basically just not that good of a match. This was basically just to get a win for Jinder Mahal. An easy way for Jinder Mahal to get a win. But Jinder Mahal ended up getting the win with the Colossus to Chad Gable. Just to get Jinder a win. That was all this match basically was. So, all in all, it wasn't that good of a match. Then, after that match, we had the Riot Squad, Ruby Riott, Sarah Logan, and Liv Morgan were shown backstage. They were destroying everything, going crazy. They even destroyed a laptop. So it was pretty funny. It's pretty funny with the Riot Squad going crazy backstage, destroying stuff. And then the match got underway with Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan versus Sasha Banks and Bayley. This was a decent women's match. It was, back and forth between them. Sasha and Bayley. You could tell that, WWE is trying to, get back and do their rivalry, their feud, that they ended up, holding off. But Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan got the win. Liv Morgan ended up rolling up Sasha for the win. So, all in all, it was a decent women's match between them. Then, after the match, we see Sasha and Bayley. They're face to face. Pissed off about, they just lost the match against Liv and Sarah. And then we see Sasha ends up pushing Bayley. And so then Sasha ends up leaving the ring. So that's what, happened. Then we had, when Raw came back from the commercial, Sasha Banks and Bayley went at it backstage because Sasha was walking and Bayley wanted to talk to Sasha. And then, Sasha didn't want to have it with Bayley. And so they just started going at it backstage and brawling, which sets off their feud that WWE held off for a bit. So, and then we had Kurt Angle back out in the ring. He says, he's saying when, Lesnar will defend the Universal Championship again. and who will be his Lesnar's opponent. And so out comes Roman Reigns, ends up cutting off Curt. Roman Reigns comes out. There were crowds, of course booing Roman, and I gotta say the Michigan crowd wasn't the greatest for Raw last night. I mean, they were hot when the opening segment started, with Ronda, Curt, and Alexa, and then as the show went on, the crowd just got quiet. It was a dead crowd, for the rest of the show. So, but Roman Reigns comes out saying that the answer to Curt's question is standing right in front of him. So Roman Reigns still wants a shot at Lesnar. And so Bobby Lashley ends up coming out. He flubs, a line in the ring, which was funny. Saying, he ended up saying, he ended up saying Lesnar, but he had to say Roman. So Bobby Lashley ended up flubbing his line. Lashley comes out saying to Roman that he's been trying to get his hands on, Lesnar, and tells him to step aside. Tells Roman to step aside. And Lashley says, he can beat Lesnar, and he can also beat, Lashley says he can beat Lesnar, and he can beat Roman. So then we had Kurt Angle announce for Extreme Rules a multi-man match. And the winner of that multi-man match will be the #1 contender for Lesnar's Universal Championship. And he then goes on to say that Roman and Lashley are the first two competitors. So then we had the Revival end up coming out saying that they've been busting their ass for years to get an opportunity on Raw. Dawson says that to Roman and Lashley that they are challenging them tonight. That Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder, the Revival, are challenging Lashley and Roman tonight. And they go on to say that Lashley and Roman will get beaten by them. And so then Curt ends up making the match, sends a referee out. Then the match got underway. Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley versus the Revival. Finally, we see the Revival in a match in, I have to say, a month. So, Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley was back and forth between them versus the Revival. The Revival, I have to say, they should be already Raw Tag Team Champions, but it sucks how the way WWE are using them. These were the NXT tag. These two were the NXT Tag Team Champions down there, and you're telling me that you're not going to use them? You're not going to have them be Raw Tag Team Champions? When they should already be. They are just ruining the Revival. The Revival should have been Raw Tag Team Champions already. But Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley end up winning the match. Roman was going for the spear, and then Lashley ended up tagging in Roman. Lashley ended up tagging Roman. Lashley got in the ring, and then Lashley speared Dash Wilder for the win for him and Roman. So, but match itself, it was decent. It was entertaining in my opinion. Then we had Kurt Angle and Constable Corbin backstage, Baldy Corbin, and Finn comes and approaches Kurt Angle, and he says to Kurt that he should deserve Balor should deserve an opportunity to be in the multi-man match, and he's hoping to win back, the Universal Championship, which I think Finn should. Because Finn never lost the Universal title. He just, relinquished it. And then Corbin ends up telling, Finn, that he should consider himself lucky in that he didn't embarrass Finn and take the championship from him. And so Kevin Owens ends up coming in and, agrees with what Corbin said. And so Finn ends up calling Owens stupid. Strowman ends up coming, and what was really funny, Kevin Owens was flinched at Strowman. So Strowman comes and says he's looking out for his buddy Finn, and if they have a problem, if Corbin and Owens has a problem, they can all have a tag team match tonight. So that was the backstage segment with them. And then we had Mojo Rawley versus No Way Jose. This was not that good of a match. It was a boring match, in my opinion. Mojo Rawley ended up getting the win with the fireman's carry drop on No Way Jose to score the win. Then after the match, Mojo gets interviewed. Mojo says the WWE has been, WWE has been competitive, that, it has been. And he goes on to say that he used to be known as, staying hyped. And, but he's known now, to stay focused. That was pretty much what, Mojo said in the interview. Then after that, we saw Sasha Banks, leaving the arena. Bayley ends up coming, back to her. Sasha ends up telling Bayley that, she is done helping her and done being her friend. And so then Sasha ends up, driving off, leaving Bayley. So really like to see, really am looking forward to this feud between Sasha and Bayley. I hope it's a good feud, and WWE does it right. But so that was pretty much what happened with Sasha and Bayley. And so then after that we had Elias was out saying about how Seth how Seth Rollins cheated at Money in the Bank. And he goes on to say that, Seth got what he deserved tonight when he lost the Intercontinental Championship. And pretty much, he was just trashing, the Grand Rapids, crowd. It was pretty much basically that. It's the same old shit with Elias. Although I heard in a report that they're trying to turn Elias, babyface, from what I heard. Because he's so over with the crowd. I don't know why. So then we had after that, Renee Young was interviewing Seth Rollins. Seth says, he went out there and laid the open challenge. Dolph answered, and Dolph ended up beating him. Seth ends up saying, Drew McIntyre is a problem. And that, that Seth has a week to think about it. Well, no, not Seth, but Drew McIntyre says, he has a week to think about it, because Seth says next Monday he is invoking his rematch clause, and he's going to take back the Intercontinental Championship. So that was the interview with Seth Rollins. Then it was the main event. Kevin Owens and Baron Corbin versus Finn Balor and Braun Strowman. This was a decent main event. It was an enjoyable main event. Although I gotta say, Baron Corbin is Corporate Kane 2.0, because this whole Constable Corbin thing is same with how Kane was when Kane was in the Authority. But match itself, like I said, it was a decent main event. Very enjoyable main event. Although Kevin Owens and Baron Corbin end up winning the match. Corbin ended up hitting the end of days on Finn Balor to score the win, which was surprising. It was surprising because I thought Corbin and Owens was going to lose the match. When you have Braun Strowman, as Finn Balor's partner, you got a tall guy in there. You're thinking that you might have thought that Strowman was going to win the match, but it was a shock seeing Corbin pin Balor, and win the match. So Kevin Owens and Baron Corbin, Constable Corbin, Baldy Corbin, win the match, and that's how Raw ended last night. It just ended with Owens and Corbin in the ring, and then Raw went off the air. So, but all in all, it was a decent main event. It was an enjoyable main event. Liked it. So, yeah. So, anyways, that's it for my review of last night's edition of Monday Night Raw. Thank you all for watching, and be sure to give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all back here later tonight for my SmackDown review. So until tonight, I'll see you all here later on.